All right, hello and welcome. How is everyone doing on what I hope is a wonderful Tuesday, August the 3rd? We are just 4 months from this year being over. That is insane to me. I hope that everyone is having a good year so far. A good year almost done, to be honest. John, how are you doing tonight?
Not bad. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, and hey to Amy Bennett, how are you doing out in the chat? Hope you're well. John DiMarco, as always, here with the Dolphins, and welcome. Well, we will not piddle around too much tonight. I'm honestly not feeling too great tonight. I was kind of up last night with some sick kids, and I got some sort of cold thing going on. I've been just, sneezing and snuffing most of the day. So not gonna pontificate too long, but we will give people just a minute to get into the chat. And as way of reminder, I guess before I do my reminder about my predictions from last week. So I started to make some predictions for each episode as we go into the next week, what I think is going to happen. And so before I tell that, I am going to remind everyone that there is a link to come and join us, which I don't know, I guess I should go ahead and drop into the chat for anyone who wants to join us. And what you can do is you can click on this link that should be showing up sometime about now in the chat. And I will pin this, so if you join us later, don't worry, it will be there for you. But you can click here, and this will synchronize all of our watch times together. So right now, and only during this stream, you can go to that link, and it will sync up all of our viewing so that you can see exactly what's going on while John and I talk about it. If you're in the future and you can't click there because it won't work, like you can go to the room, but there's not going to be anything to watch in the room. It's just going to be a blank screen. So if you are here in the future and you still want to watch it, I got good news for you. You can go to peacocktv.com, sign up for a free account, and be able to watch all 3 seasons of SeaQuest without any issue. And I highly recommend it because it is a streaming service that is 100% free. And they have lots of other things besides SeaQuest. This is the NBC version of Netflix, which honestly I don't know why there's so many independent streaming services trying to nickel and dime us, but just get Netflix is kind of what I'm thinking. But Peacock TV did in fact make their own streaming service, and it's free, so I'm very supportive of them in that. If you don't want to sign up for a free account, or maybe you don't want to bring up a new tab. Maybe you're on your phone and you're watching this at work or something. Well, we got you covered. There will be clips displayed right below so that you can at least see a reference for what we're talking about. And John, I actually, this past week, I went through and I made sure that, all the SeaQuests were part of a single playlist, which I knew I was adding them. There might have been like 1 or 2 I'd missed by accident. But I went back, I made sure they're all there. And I realized that for the first 5 episodes, we actually didn't have clips. It was just us talking about the episode. And for some dumb reason, I didn't think to add any clips. Yeah, I don't know. I got nothing. I'm an idiot sometimes. But we did start adding clips by episode 6 of season 1. And I highly recommend go back, watch through the playlist. I think it's lots of fun to hear John and I talking about this stuff, especially the season 1 episodes, because those were fantastic. So hopefully you are over in the screening room. And as I am about to hit play and get this going, let me remind you about what my predictions were. I predicted that based solely off the name alone, we would be looking at a single character who is going to find everyone else disappearing. And of course, I referenced things like there was a TNG episode where Beverly Crusher had this happen to her. She slipped into some subspace something or whether quantum, I don't know. You had an episode of a show called Eureka where this happened. I want to say there was a DS9 episode where something very close to this happened. It wasn't The Visitor. That's the one where Jake's dad, they thought he died and he ended up not. But there was I swear there was a similar episode in DS9, but it's just not clicking in right now. That was my guess, that this was the episode where you'd have the character who, over the course of the episode, became increasingly isolated as everyone else slowly vanished for some mysterious reason. Professor saying it was a Bashir episode. Yes, it's the one where he was in his mind. Thank you, Professor.
That's what it was. Yeah, it's distant voices.
That's right. See, I knew there was something. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Voyager had one, but I don't think they did. Yeah, I don't
think anything exactly like that, no.
Yeah, so I thought that was a pretty, it's a staple of sci-fi to have an episode like this. So I thought for sure that is what we're going to get. One episode or one character increasing isolated and everyone else kind of disappearing. So let's go ahead and start this up and we'll see how close I was to getting it right this week or how very wrong I get it. And
that's better.
And Professor Brainy Specs, how are you doing? Saying that he's currently in the past. Well, I hope that you get that resolved and get up to the future. 47 Yorktown with the Dolphins.
Yes.
And yes, no one can hear you scream in the screening room. Classic line from the Alien movie. Or the movie Alien, I should say. Get my word order correct there. So come join us in the screening room if you can, and if not, of course, we'll have the clips there below. But I will give us a quick 5 count so that you can, if you're in the future and you want to click on that play button over on Peacock TV or on your DVD player, because you can just go out and buy SeaQuest. Each season's like $20 maybe over on Amazon. You can find it on eBay too, I'm sure. All 3 seasons. The point is, there's a lot of ways you can get this show, and it's worth having in your collection. Just for the first season alone from what I've seen. So here we go. 5 countdown. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and play. Professor Brainy Specs saying you have a movie named Alien? That's really offensive. No wonder everyone keeps invading you. Which, yes, is a great line. From, I forget which doctor it was that said that. I want to say Matt Smith. It seems like something Smith would say. And hopefully this week I actually have it work so that you're not hearing the sound. So wonderful Balana Troy is here, wondering where everyone is, but there's only Darwin for some reason. She thought there was a medical emergency. And, Darwin's like, well, I just wanted to talk to you. I just want to say surprise. And all these piñatas come down from above. We got, looks like Ariel over on the left, some boats, some seahorses, typical things that maybe some Navy type people would think would be funny to get.
Hello, Thomas. Glad you could join us.
Hey, Thomas. And Professor Brainy Specs is saying it was Peter Capaldi. Okay. I can also see him saying that. Yes.
And Dag was wearing 2 party hats like horns. It's a great look for him.
I missed that. Yes, he is. And Lewis is kind of curious. Like, didn't you know everyone? Couldn't you read our thoughts and just know we were going to throw you a party? And she goes, no, I'd never read anyone's thoughts without consent, which isn't entirely true from what we know about her. We have seen her on several occasions talk about specifically what Piccolo was thinking. So maybe she is allowed to read the thoughts of, convicts. But something's wrong. Balana she's in pain. She's gasping and writhing about, and something's clearly wrong. And you just kind of expect her to say something like, I sensed a great disturbance, as if 1,000 voices were crying out and suddenly silenced, or millions perhaps even. But it was like nothing she ever felt before.
Oh, and Thomas says you tried to hide this dream from him.
Oh, did I really?
It's definitely a jerk move, like they're saying.
That definitely would have been just the worst of me, Thomas. Thomas is saying, No, Matthew, Starbucks aren't in Babylon 5, like you said on Salty Trucker stream. I must have been really out of it. I don't remember saying anything about this. So there's some UEO conference going on, and this guy shows up who, bless his heart, they're trying with the special effects in this episode, but you can see the way he's scrunched over, that right on his belt he's being suspended by like a boom arm or something. He's kind of hunched over, but he's claiming that he's the Avatar, and they were right to fear him, and he's going to make sure that everyone joins him in his misery, or in hell, as he says. And then he just vanishes. Poof. Cue the theme song. I got something weird going on with the SeaQuest sound.
Don't tell me you've got audio problems. I don't know if I'd be able to handle that shock.
Brace yourself. But no, I don't have audio problems per se. Because that would imply like there's something wrong with the stream, but there's nothing wrong with the stream. It's coming in just fine. It's just I had it looking at the wrong source because I don't know what I did. A long time ago I did something weird. I know. Hold your surprise. I'll stop messing with stuff. So as they come walking through the UEO headquarters, everyone's kind of giving it, the SeaQuest members, the old stink eye for some reason. They're here to see the Secretary General, and this receptionist lady, she brushes them off like, oh, he'll see you in a minute. Doesn't even bother dignifying them with eye contact. But clearly whatever she's trying to do on her 7-inch monitor is so important she can't look up. And Lewis, you know, not standing for any of this, the only member who's not going to put up with this rude behavior, leans in and says, what's wrong? Why is everyone giving us the stink eye? And the lady says, well, it's because they know she's a spire. Which apparently that's what we're going to be calling psychics now. People who can read minds. Not espers, not psychics, just spires. Because they can spy in your mind, of course. And Lewis he's kind of grumpy. But he's explaining what an avatar is. He's saying it's the manifestation of a god is how he's describing it, which I thought an avatar was the human representative for a god in old mythology, but I'm not going to debate with Lewis. Lewis is a lot smarter than I am.
That's for sure.
I mean, Lewis gets people's names right at least 98% of the time. That's like the exact opposite of what I do.
Jeff, can't wait to hear the other names you come up with for the characters on Babylon 5 when we get to that in 11 years.
11 years and counting. We're on the fast track now, everyone.
I particularly can't wait to the name we come up with for Alexander Siddig's character on Babylon 5.
I'm thinking Tuvix. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what pops up.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But the thing that's going on right now is everyone's scared of spires. The news has gotten out about this guy who's claiming to be the Avatar. He's put several people into a coma at this point. And B'Elanna is explaining, like, it's impossible for a spire to do this. In order for us to read thoughts, like, we can't take violent actions against anyone. It would actually damage ourselves because we are so intimately aware of the pain we're causing others. We're basically empaths. But unfortunately, the general is saying that doesn't matter. We are going to be locking every spire up in a concentration camp sort of situation. And he's saying that, but hey, good news. This order doesn't apply to psychics with UEO clearance.
Well, that makes it all better.
Which they rightly point out that this is very much like what America did during World War II by putting Japanese individuals into concentration camps, or detention centers, as they're calling it in this episode. Which was definitely a dark day in American history. I certainly understand the fear of people who resemble the enemy, but they took U.S. citizens and illegally detained them, and that was just absolutely inexcusable. And unfortunately, we haven't learned. It's the year 2019, I believe.
Yeah, something like that.
And we're still doing it. Am I a blip? I don't think I'm a blip. Is that a Babylon 5 reference?
I wouldn't know.
Beardless Bridger.
It's all right, the beard will be back soon.
So now we're finding out, how did B'Elanna Troy even discover she had powers? And it came up because she was doing a spelling test, or a spelling bee, and she was able to get every single word spelled correctly. Even when they started to give her complete nonsense words, she was able to spell it correctly, because it turned out that she was subconsciously reading the minds of the teachers giving her the tests, which, I mean, I would say that's a leap of logic on the teacher's parts. As long as you have a firm understanding of how words go together, you can spell anything. I mean, you just follow the basic rules of phonics. And yeah, you get weird things like redo if you spell like REDAUX. I think that technically works out. We got some weird French words in English, unfortunately, but for the most part, it would hold water. Josh Street wants to know, when is the bad season of SeaQuest? I have heard season 3 takes a dive in quality. I don't know if it's bad. It's definitely different, but we will be examining it when it comes up. And that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks from now is when we start season 3, assuming we do 1 episode a week for the next 6 weeks.
Yes, saying Matthew doesn't abandon us again. In other words,
which might happen.
Definitely might happen. Now she's sensing something strange.
And she's actually able to move a shoe. She was reaching for it, but instead it just moves away from her. And she freaks out. She doesn't want this. That there's this sense of energy coming to the room, and it basically grounded in her since she's sensitive to psychic emanations. Bridger is definitely taking those stairs slowly. His age might be showing a bit at that moment.
The Avatar has returned for the Secretary General, apparently.
Which, I guess seizure warning right here.
Yeah.
And the Avatar, it looks like he wants B'Elanna to move, but instead he smacks Bridger around And B'Elanna is trying to interpose between the Avatar and the UEO general. And the Avatar again yells, join me in hell. And, they dolly zoom in on him. And then he uses his psychic telekinesis powers to slam the guy into a door, knocking him unconscious. Thomas Potts is saying Matthew isn't Anel Shook? Anla Shock? It's true. Not even going to pronounce that right. We know it. But having been chased by many dogs recently, I can say that B'Elanna is booking it right now to stay out of reach of that German Shepherd. I guess the German Shepherd was kind of afraid of water because he stopped at the dock. Because unfortunately, they saw, oh look, there's this woman. She clearly must be a spire. We know she's a spire somehow. She must have attacked the general or the admiral. And Bridger's saying, well, we know she didn't do it. She's innocent. And this guy's, he's hearing none of it. Even though he's part of the UEO too, and I'm pretty sure Captain Bridger grossly outranks this peon. He's saying that his mind has been compromised. But at least the security officers claims at least that his mind hasn't been compromised, so he's going to go after her. But she escapes, makes a clean getaway in the little sports boat.
Now we're at what looks like a university.
Excuse me for a second. Springtime is saying, BNN breaking news. Life with Matthew will not appear in the Life with Matthew movie. Apparently after filming, nobody noticed he wasn't there. Yeah, I tried to notify them, but I guess they've been blocking my emails.
Welcome, Super Blubberpuss.
How you doing tonight, Super Blubberpuss? I'm sure this random clear device won't have anything to do with anything. Let us just linger on it for a moment. So this professor guy, he is not a psychic, and yet he somehow inherently understands the nature of psychics more than anyone else out there. That while he may not be able to read into her mind like a psychic, somehow he was able to read into her heart, and he changed her life. And apparently he was able to do this with many psychics. He's a very insightful and empathetic man. Empathic man? Empathetic?
Yes.
One of those two. He's saying, hey, psychics are perfectly normal people. They even commit crimes. It's just they just can't be violent crimes. She's saying that's just not possible. I saw it happen. It felt like a psychic projection. This is, well, clearly the only option is that there must have been an intervention. He's not really there. It's just his image. Because if he's not feeling their terror, the victim's terror, it's just a projection. So he's not actually feeling it because he's not physically there. Which we've actually seen that B'Elanna has been able to cinch things on the other side of the planet, basically, just by having the view screen open. So somehow this guy has been able to disconnect that ability and is just sending a telekinetic projection into this room. Thomas Potts is saying that is Matthew a psychic or a psycho? And Professor Bernie Specs is saying, well, definitely a weirdo. Yes.
That's for sure.
So the professor guy, he talks about how he's trying to create a device that could help out non-psychics kind of tap into that psychic energy, but it never worked. He failed. And, she goes, I know you're hiding something from me. And he goes, yeah, okay, I am. I did develop a device. It's a crude device that does enhance psychic powers, but it only works for people who were already psychic. And can you imagine the fear that would come about if you took a psychic person and made him even stronger? So he hid it away. It was far too dangerous, and it drained the energy, and it could even destroy your mind in the worst case scenario. And Josh Street, so this guy is the Bird of Prey 5 of SeaQuest. Bird of Prey 5 definitely inspired me to start doing this, yes. And Thomas, are you sure that guy doesn't look like Jeff? You've never seen him in person. For all you know, Jeff is just using one of those avatar apps to hide his face online. Professor Brainy Specs wants to know, how potent is my LDS? I don't go for the hard stuff. I go for the safe, legal stuff, like caffeine. So, true fact, I legit did not know that her name was Wendy. That her first name was Wendy.
That doesn't surprise me.
It shouldn't, but I actually do know most of the character names that I haven't just, royally butchered. But you never actually hear her first name for most of the series here. They talk about Dr. Smith, but very rarely does anyone ever call her Wendy. And so in this episode, when they mention, oh, Wendy Smith, I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. She does have a first name that's not Balana.
Join with me, and together we can rule the galaxy.
He lacks that. He lacks that booming voice, but yes, he is literally saying, "Join me, join with me." So as we see, the professor was lying. He didn't destroy his device, and he had it with him. And so Wendy gets the crown for the psychics, which looks a lot like what that guy had in Star Wars. The Empire Strikes Back, the android guy.
Lobot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it enhances her abilities to the point that she's able to put up a psychic shield around her. While Rainbow Wormhole Star Guy, I think I do see stars going in that aura that surrounds him. I think that's the TNG warp speed effect.
And Wendy's out. Uh-oh, the UEO has found her, apparently.
Oh, but thank goodness it was Hitchcock and Hernandez. Or Henderson. Henderson.
And Ortiz. Yes.
And everyone's saying, just stay here, just stay with us. And somehow, for some reason, Lucas is here with them. Why bring the civilian? But here he is. And they just want to help, but she's saying, no, it's too dangerous. He's followed me. He can't find me. I was able to get a mental image from his mind, but you can't come with me. And she puts up another psychic barrier around them so they can't follow her, and pieces out. Super Blubber Post is saying, my mom used to like this show, Flipper Voyages to the Bottom of the Sea Trek.
Yep.
Darwin definitely saves the day a lot in SeaQuest. Hey, Chief Cook, how you doing tonight? Thomas is saying, I don't know, Matthew, you went off screen and bent over. Yeah, I was trying to blow my nose and I didn't want to do it right into the microphone. Professor Bernie Speck is saying, this sounds like a ripoff of Babylon 5. Who are you? What do you want? They're trying to track Wendy, obviously, but she's got a head start on them, and things are not looking good. That's right, Super Bullet Puss. Everyone knows it's Wendy, because Wendy has hair of gold. Well, not so much in this one. What Wendy doesn't have, though, is the ability to accurately drive one of these subs. She is a very bad driver, which I think may be a little sexist. You know, the bad woman driver stereotype. I thought we were beyond this. I mean, she's really bad at this.
Well, the affair is not the kind of thing she normally has to do during the course of her duties, I would think.
I also wouldn't have thought that a psychologist would be a marine biologist, and yet apparently she is. She's still doing better than Deanna Troy did as a psychologist, to be fair.
I agree. Although it's a relatively low bar.
And she's definitely a better actress than Marina Sirtis was.
And also, she hasn't actually crashed the shuttle into anything yet. Unlike the person we're comparing her to.
True. I mean, and to be fair, it is hard to crash in the middle of the ocean, but I'm sure there are individuals who could crash a ship in the middle of the ocean.
Just like crashing a ship in the middle of space, you know.
So now we find out, here is the big countdown kind of moment. When the Avatar accessed the brain of the UEO general guy, he took the knowledge about the reactors across the world, and he is increasingly bringing them close to meltdown. And there's some sort of psychic barrier around them too. So just they can't just go in there, hit the emergency stop button, dump the rods into the water, cool everything down. No. You don't get that option here. There's a barrier, so these reactors are rapidly approaching meltdown, and there's no way for them to stop it. And Bridger says maybe what you should do is take all the psychic people that you have illegally detained and ask them for help, because maybe they could help you get through the barriers.
Super Bubba says Counselor Troy was a terrible psychologist and pilot. What was she good at? Well, eating chocolate.
Yeah, and being the love interest of the week for whatever male guest star was there.
Yes, even when it was against her will.
Oh, gosh. And I'll say this, just to be fair, Riker, for a lot of TNG, was just the male counterpart, where he would be the love interest for the female guest star of the week. Like, the two of them, they never swapped it up for so much of TNG. Every once in a while, you would have Geordi LaForge be the love interest, but the only time he was the love interest was when you wanted it to be awkward. Like having him fall in love with a hologram. Or having the real life person of the hologram show up just to find out that you fell in love with a holographic version of her, which kind of creepy.
Yeah.
So they're approaching this colony where they think this guy is, and it turns out that even though it's an unmanned colony, an unmanned station underwater, it still actually has active deterrence. It has torpedoes that will launch at any unauthorized approach, which you would think would mean instant death for B'Elanna Troy.
You'd think.
Thankfully,
SeaQuest to the rescue.
Yeah. Thankfully, someone is looking out for her. Which I still like from either last week or the week before. Tim Raimi's fantasy about being the captain and then having Bridger typing away furiously, which is exactly what we just saw happen in this scene where he had to save the day by tapping furiously into the keyboard after Bridger told him to save the day. Oh, that's true, Professor Brainy Specs. Riker fell in love with the hologram first, before Geordi or Harry Kim did, in the episode 1011001. I think that's right. Thomas Potts, swap it up. So Riker with a guy and Troy with a woman. Well, there was...
fall in love with that androgynous creature one time.
Yeah. He did it before Discovery. So I mean, TNG was a lot more forward facing than people give it credit for. And apparently in this society, in this, what do you call this, colony?
Yeah.
They say that the way we're going to do this is we're going to have everyone naked except for a piece of astronaut blankets around their midsection. And everyone's just going to have to cover up the naughty bits up top.
It's an odd choice.
It is. It really, really is.
Did you hide Thomas on the channel, Matthew?
Well, that is what YouTube is saying, and YouTube never lies. They have fact checkers.
Indeed.
Super Bubba Post is saying, thank you. All that constant rehashing of the boring love soap opera garbage is why I couldn't stand TNG. It definitely had... Okay, if you can get past season 1, TNG was a phenomenal series. They had so many great episodes that really explored deep human conflict, and it was wonderful. But season 1 definitely had... There's a reason it was known as the Love Boat in Space, because of season 1.
Yes, but their romantic episodes were not their strongest.
They were not. I think the one really good romantic episode they did in TNG was The Negotiation, I think is what they called it. It was the one where they had found a wormhole and it wasn't stable on the other end of it, but it was stable on our end.
Oh yeah, that was The Price.
The Price, that's it. And the thing that was so great about it is, you had this budding romance between the guy, guest star of the week, and of course B'Elanna. And he played his hand too hard, and Riker called him out on it. He's like, that was the first mistake you made. I absolutely think that you should, try and make a long-term relationship happen with Deanna, but I don't think you will. I think you try to use her as a bargaining chip, and you messed up there. And it was his real first mess up that he made. So we do get a lot of lingering shots on women as we go through this area. And then we find the oh so subtle imagery of the Avatar being basically in a crucified pose, being 100% in a crucified pose on what almost looks like a cross bed. Like, why? Everyone else is being suspended from the ceiling on this weird, warehouse storage, and he is here splayed out. And he's unconscious. And somehow through his dreams, which Dreamweaver may have been a good name for this episode.
Yes, I was thinking when you were doing your predictions about Dreamweaver, you were actually more describing this episode.
Right? It really was very much like this. But this guy, he's been in a coma for a long time. And he has begun to actually project outward from within his mind. he's actually been trying to heal this brain damage that occurred to him. He was in a car wreck with some other people. The other people died, but he's actually been trying to heal. And if they had just given him some medicine, he probably would have been able to heal himself. But instead, they've been researching on him.
By the way, it's my pleasure to unban you, Thomas. And he also says it looks like the station from the Enterprise episode Dead Stop.
The Enterprise episode Dead Stop.
If I remember correctly, that was an episode with an automated repair station, but it had like people like this they were using for like computing power or something.
Yes. And there was just about everything they could want on the station, but certain areas they weren't allowed to go into.
Yeah, I think that's the one.
So as they are kind of figuring out what's going on here, he does activate his avatar. Like, he goes into a deeper REM state and allows himself to project outwards, and he feels like he's being attacked at this point. He wants to know why they're attacking him. And, he's obviously not in a good mental state. He's basically dreaming and projecting all his fears outward. And good old Dagwood saving the day, blocking Captain Bridger from the consoles that are exploding.
Oh, that's what they need on the Enterprise. Every time the computers blow up, they just need Dagwood to smother it for them.
So I've always thought that what they need to do is just have some fuses in the consoles. Like, you should never have that much power going to the interface. All the power should be far, far away from humans. And by the time you get to the interface, you should be dealing with like a literal keyboard level of electricity, 3 volts going through here. Now, springtime. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. Tom was saying, you could have said it was the episode where monkeys took over the ship, and Matthew would say he remembers that.
What, an Enterprise? No, I remember there was a Cowboy Bebop episode where that effectively happened. And you could argue there was a TNG episode where everyone was devolving and you kind of had some quasi-monkey type people. Super Blood Post wants to know, do I mean circuit breakers? I mean, circuit breakers would work too. A fuse would work as well, except a fuse... I mean, surely they would have a resettable fuse in the future. I mean, we have them now. But I was just thinking about a basic fuse. It blows, you replace it. Springtime wants to know, how is my hard PG-13 reboot of The Little Mermaid going? Well, I think it couldn't be a hard and PG-13. I think those things are somewhat exclusionary. So B'Elanna, she does sacrifice herself to enter into the psyche of this guy. And he's practically unaware of what's going on in the outside world. He says, well, wait, I've seen you in my dream. So as far as he's concerned, this weird space that he finds himself in is reality. And whenever he goes to sleep, that's when he begins to project himself outside. And while he's been trying to heal himself mentally, he's been able to tap into a deeper source of psychic power and make sure that no one can ever hurt him again. So from his perspective, he was driving, totally innocent. A truck veered into his lane, and when he woke up, the whole world was gone, and the only thing left was pain. And she's saying, no, you got it all backwards. This place, this is the dream. It's out there where you're projecting your avatar that's real life, and you are terrorizing people across the globe with this avatar. But I can help you. He goes, no, you can't help. I am the avatar. I am the last airbender, and I will rebuild the world.
But first, I'll give you another seizure. All the blinking lights.
And the SeaQuest, it is down. It took a blast from the avatar, which you may recall the avatar, part of the psychic energy isn't just able to read minds, but they are able to interact with the physical world through telekinesis and apparently other means as he's tapped into this deeper level of psychic power. So he is interfering with just all the systems aboard the SeaQuest. Josh Street saying, but Life with Matthew, without all that electricity going through the consoles, you couldn't get exploding rocks coming out of them in the TNG era. Yeah, so yes, that is the reason. It would be a lot more of a boring show if they got hit by a torpedo and the consoles went dark and they're like, oh no, the relays have blown on C deck. And you're like, well, okay. And, you know, everyone does a quick, oh, we've been thrown to the side. We're under so much, you know, being buffeted about. But at the same time, I definitely do wish that was more, just a little closer to reality. Now, B'Elanna wants him to turn aside, to let go of all this, and he thinks it's all a trick, that if he lets her take him out of this area, he'll lose his powers forever and he'll be trapped here. But she's pointing out that, you know what, you haven't killed anyone yet, because at the end of the day, he's still a psychic. He still has that empathic element to him. So he was lashing out the only way he could of making people be comatose like he was, but he still couldn't bring himself to kill anyone. And she goes, you know, my name is Wendy Smith. I'm over 900 years old. No, wait, that's another show. My name is Wendy Smith, and, you know, you didn't hurt me out there, and you're not about to hurt me in here. So just take my hand, and I can help you get there. And it's better to take the chance that this might be a trick than to stay here alone for all time.
Dun, dun, dun.
There we go. There's the name of the episode. But still, I'm going to say this should have been called Dreamweaver. And frankly, I think Dreamweaver could have been called Alone. Being the last, or being the only alien on the planet.
Possibly.
So B'Elanna wants him to go into the light. That's his conscious state. And he's worried. It's like, well, I'll fall. He goes, no, there's steps. It's just you have to create them. But what's this? Poor B'Elanna Troy, she's dying. She's used the headpiece too much. Because you remember, the professor said that if you use this device, the strain it puts on your mind, it drains the energy too quickly and it can lead to mental damage. And sure enough, she's seeing that things are not going well for her. She's expended too much energy being in here and defending herself against the guy's finger light attack. I don't know what happened to the special effects, but they kind of ran out for this episode.
Yeah.
I guess most of the
finest moments.
Effects. I guess most of the effects were spent on that scene right there. You see it a couple times if you've been watching along with us, but there's some green screen dithering that happens whenever they stand around the red abyss. So she comes out of his mind. He wakes up because she was able to heal him by going into light. And he says, "Get it off her," and rips the headband off because he's aware of what's actually causing the problems. He's psychic. Why wouldn't he be aware? And now that he's woken up, the psychic energy that was attacking the SeaQuest has dissipated. Systems are coming back online. Power's coming up. Everything is good. Steady as she goes. Hey, Multi-Gunman, how are you doing? Thomas Potts wants to know, is that the guy from Voyager who portrayed them to the Kazon? Huh. That's a good question. I don't think so. Let's see. SeaQuest season alone episode. Let's see who the guest star was, because maybe. Let's see, what was this guy's name?
Savarge is what I saw.
Savarge?
Something like that. Yeah, I'm going down a list of his stuff. I don't see anything from Star Trek, though. His
real name is, as the Avatar, okay, Raphael Savarge.
Oh, wait, there it is. Yes, Michael Jonas. That's the one Thomas was talking about.
Well done, Thomas.
Yeah, see, I thought he was kind of familiar, but I didn't know from where. And also, apparently you've been skipping Jeff's comments.
Have I now? Let's see. Back to a ripoff of Babylon 5. Who are you? I guess I didn't read that one. And we are back in the lean mode. Okay, yes, you're right. I did miss 2 of your comments there, Jeff. My apologies. So, Darwin is saving the day, giving his usual counseling abilities to the Avatar, and Lewis shoves a party streamer into the blowhole of Darwin, and and Darwin blows it, and everyone yells "surprise" and comes out, and Dagwood is feeling a little guilty because if you notice, he had some cake. He goes, I'm sorry, I didn't know there was going to be a second party, and I ate some of the cake. Professor Brain Space saying, Deline? Deline?
I'm sure he has no idea who you're talking about.
What is it, Delan? Delin?
Delenn, I believe.
Matthew's using a mouse to put holes in John's head? What?
Well, I don't think it's Matthew's fault this time, surprisingly. I think it's an issue with my camera.
Did I have the... I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if at some point I did have the mouse in just the right spot to appear on his screen, but no. No, I didn't. Professor is facepalming. We all know my name abilities. I don't think we should be very surprised if I get a name wrong. Even if it's spelled out for me. Especially if it's spelled out for me.
Especially.
So, John, what did you think of this week's episode?
Well, I can't say that it's one of my favorites. There was an interesting idea they could have gone with putting the psychics in the internment camps. But I don't think they really focused on that very much. It's almost kind of like a thing I mentioned off to the side. Well, they focused on Blanche and her little mind shields and stuff. And I thought what they decided to do with the colony and with the coma patients was just bizarre.
Yeah,
they had them all set up.
What was the point of that colony?
Well, I believe they're all supposedly coma patients that weren't going to be waking up. But I don't know why they had it set up like that. I have no idea.
It was definitely a weird thing. Like I remember them saying like everyone here is in a coma, but I couldn't figure out if they were trying to have the Avatar somehow be healing the coma patients just by proximity, or if this was some sort of long-term healthcare facility in which no one was ever allowed to be visited by any of their families. And Yeah, I'm not sure where they're going with that. So beyond that, how do you rate the episode?
I mean, it's not terrible. It was worth a watch, but it's not one I go back to very often. So Belana Troy, even though I think she's a better character than Deanna Troy, she's still not particularly one of my favorites. So the fact that there's a lot of focus to her on their episode, it didn't really do a whole lot for me.
Yeah, I think this is one of the weaker episodes in season 2 that we've seen so far. Maybe part of that is just Bridger in his beardless state isn't the best look.
Didn't help.
Yeah, it's a rough look for him. But then also just like the plot line in general, like you said, there are so many more interesting things they could have focused on. Like I feel like if it had been season 1, they would have done a lot more focusing on the internment camp thing and the parallels to the past, and then also just it still would have been focused on the wonderful Wendy Smith, of course, but I feel like they would have done less "you're a fugitive on the run now," which kind of came out of nowhere, and more like how is she dealing with being a privileged class? Like how is she reacting to the fact that everyone else is being thrown in an internment camp and yet she's getting special treatment just because, she has an inside connection? Which, I mean, that personally, that's the thing I really, really like about certain sci-fi shows. The fact that they look at those deeper humanity issues and get you really thinking about them as opposed to just bang, bang, pew, pew. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I love Firefly, and Firefly is a lot of bang, bang, pew, pew. Sliders, a lot of bang, bang, pew, pew. Well, I guess that was mostly the last season. Voyager has a lot of bang, bang, pew, pew. But, you have to start a series off that way. But if you just change in the middle, like I don't like it. Like if you start off being more cerebral, thinking about things, and then all of a sudden do this, we're going to be actiony, then I think that's exactly what we got with SeaQuest. People didn't respond overly well to that. But at the same time, I understand why they kind of went that route. They were up against DS9, and I think TNG was over by this point. By 94. So I get the idea that they wanted to go a different route. They wanted to branch out. But I think it was a bad course correction, that if they'd stayed the course, being more, scientifically minded, for one thing, they wouldn't have lost Bridger. But for another thing, I think they would have kept their core demographic. Like the people who actually liked it, I think would have continued to like it, instead of, doing this Hail Mary where they change up the show and hope that they'll bring in a new demographic who had already gone, well, I don't want to watch SeaQuest. So I mean, that's a real hard thing to do. It's like, well, we're going to attract these people, and say, well, these people, they didn't like the show, so they're not going to magically know that you changed the show because they're not watching it. Like, anyway, and Josh is saying that 94 was the last season of TNG. Okay. And Professor was also saying that TNG ended in late spring 1994. Thomas Potts is saying Kroger works with the shadows. I'll tell the Vorlons. I'm assuming that is a Babylon 5 reference.
By the way, with this episode, we're into early 95, so TNG would have been officially over by then. And then the Voyager would have started.
Okay. And Thomas is teasing me. At least there isn't all the swearing like TOS. I swear, yeah. I heard. But maybe that's the Mandela effect. I'm gonna have to rewatch TOS and double check this, because I could have sworn there was a couple swears throughout that series. Joshua wants to know, why did Police Chief Brody, the captain of the SeaQuest, when he hates the water? Josh, I'm not following that sentence.
Police Chief Brody is Roy Scheider's character in Jaws.
Oh. I see. Maybe that was why is Police Chief Brody the captain of the SeaQuest when he hates the water. Yes, that sentence checks out. Why did Police Chief Brody become the captain of the SeaQuest when he hates the water? There we go, Josh. Thank you. I know it. Phones autocorrect is the worst thing. And yeah, like I'm gonna get a name reference. Come on now. Come on. So yeah, this wasn't the strongest episode for me. It was diverting, but it's definitely one of those episodes that if I were to sit down and rewatch it, I'd probably skip through. I'd skip over this episode. I don't feel like we get a lot of insight into Dr. Smith. It was interesting to hear her origin story. It was interesting to see her interaction with the professor, kind of this individual who plays the Professor X, who just has a deep understanding of the psychics, even more so than the psychics themselves. I thought that I'd love to see him pop up in a future episode that was another one of the Lana Troy-centric episodes. I think that would be a fantastic reprisal of a role in which you get to see this deepening relationship, but time will tell if that actually happens.
Thomas brings up during the 60s, you couldn't really do much swearing on TV, so there shouldn't be much in TOS anyway.
That's true. That's true. And Super Blubberpuss says, Dr. Smith, oh, the pain. Oh, good old Dr. Smith from the Swiss Family Robinson in Space. Lost in Space. And yes, that was, gosh, man, the way he was definitely an actor who hammed it up in the old style of acting. Joshua is saying, so the Raphael Sabarge character is how Bird of Prey 5 is healed. That'd be interesting. And Professor Brainy Speck is saying that no, that's Flash Gordon. Okay. Like I'm gonna get a name right. Come on, people! Like I'm gonna get a name right. Thomas Potts is wowing at my Dr. Smith impersonation. I'm assuming that's an amazed wow, like wow. Owen Wilson, wow. That's just amazing. Which, thank you, Thomas. You know, I try.
Don't think that's what type of wow it is.
Thomas Potts is saying the Swiss Family Robinson in Space. Yeah. Lost in Space was basically the Swiss Family Robinson, but in space. Like, if you read through the book, you know, them being marooned someplace and building up a life for themselves in this new area. It's the split in demographics. It checks out.
And yeah, Super Bulbasaur. That's the only one I remember from TOS as well, in the City of Days of Forever.
That's the only one I have a firm memory of. Like I said, the rest of it must be the Mandela effect, where it's so iconic. The dang it, Jim, I'm a doctor, not a whatever. That's so ingrained into society that I just assumed, probably incorrectly, that it was in TOS.
And yeah, and I don't think it was.
Professor say I'm skipping him again. I'm not. I'm just not perfect about reading. Not perfect about reading. Hi, I'm Captain Understatement. Silver Blood Post is saying the original name for Lost in Space was Space Family Robinson. Yeah, see? Assuming he's not trolling me, which it doesn't take much to trick me into. But my problem is I actually trust you guys. You say something and I tend to actually believe that you guys know what you're talking about. It may be a fatal weakness of mine. And thank you, Bradley. That's right. Matthew can barely remember his own name, and people expect him to remember everyone else's. totally unfair on other people's.
Yeah, that's true.
Josh wants to know, isn't that the plot of the episode of Voyager, the 37s? What, with Amelia Earhart being found on the faraway planet?
Yeah, that was that one.
I don't remember describing that plot. Talking about being lost in space and trying to build up a new life. Well, see, they actually weren't reanimated, though. Not until Voyager showed up. It seems instead that the aliens that brought them there... Did they actually do testing on the 37s? Or did they... I think they just, took genetic samples from them and created descendants from those genetic samples. They did test tube babies, was what I thought.
I don't remember specifically. I just know that they had some human slaves or something, and then they eventually overthrew them and kicked off the aliens.
Yeah. I don't recall if they took genetic samples from the 37s or if there were others who were also abducted and those people rebelled and had their freedom, and the 37s were the only people who were still in suspended animation, so they became this almost deity type people to the people who were still on the planet. Thank you, Super Blubber Pros. He's saying he wouldn't troll me. I appreciate that, because it'd be far too easy. Just ask Jarwin, says Thomas, about the episode. See? Yeah, or about me getting name wrong. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And Josh is saying that there were others stranded. Yeah. Okay, John. Final thoughts about this episode. Let's go and wrap things up here, and I'm gonna take some medicine and go to bed.
Well, there was some good scenes with Darwin, both at the beginning and at the end, so that definitely helps salvage the episode overall.
Yes, we'll go with that. Thomas saying that SeaQuest's original name was Sea World Quest. I'm pretty sure that's a joke. Professor, he's also claiming he wouldn't troll me. Fact checked false, Thomas. Definitely fact checked false. And Professor Brady Speck is saying it's a fact. Life with Matthews on LDS. Now, to be fair, Thomas is very honest whenever I'm having audio stuff, and I'm very thankful that Thomas tells me the truth about that. But beyond that, Thomas definitely tries to trick me and often succeeds in doing so. In fact, it was just the last stream. It was either the last stream I did with Michael or the last virtual pub I did or something. He threw out some name in there, and I think I wasn't paying attention, ignored it the first time. And then I started to talk about it later. I'm like, wait. That wasn't the guy's name. So Thomas definitely... he definitely gets me. Sometimes usually I'm a little slow on the uptake.
Yeah, and Thomas wasn't the only one who tricked you tonight.
And Professor saying he also tricked me tonight? What on? I believe you. I do. I'm just curious what on. Thomas wants to know, what's the virtual pub? I'm pretty sure you're well aware. Josh Tree is saying, Matthew, your name isn't Bird of Prey 5, so I wouldn't say your audio is off when it's not. Thank you, Josh. I am curious what Professor tricked me about tonight. Was it the Vorlon's comment not being on Flash Gordon? We'll see.
Yeah,
maybe he'll...
Yeah. Something to do with Flash Gordon, I think.
Maybe. And maybe he'll tell me over in Discord later on if he's not going to tell me here. So, as we wrap things up, next week we will be watching Season 2, Episode 17, entitled Watergate. So, here's my prediction for Watergate. Watergate will be all about one of the members of SeaQuest performing an illegal recording. There's going to be some sort of legal proceeding going on. It's going to be literally Watergate on SeaQuest. Maybe kind of a Drumhead-esque episode, which means see legal activities going on. Somehow going to be Piccolo involved. He's kind of the new Craig of the episode. I miss him. He was fun. So that's my guess. Something about Piccolo, maybe something he did in the past with an illegal recording, and it's coming back to haunt him. Maybe Bridger, I don't know. They're going to be going after someone for illegal malpractice like that, or misconduct. That's my guess for next week. We'll see how right or wrong I am for next week. This week, pretty wrong. Pretty wrong this week. Pretty wrong for Dreamweaver too.
Yep.
Bradley brings
next week to see how wrong he is next time.
That's right. That is right. Yeah, Thomas is claiming Nixon is in the next episode. It's the and he's saying it's where they learn how to keep heads in jars. I'm sure Darwin lets them know how to do that.
Exactly.
Well, guys, thank you so very much for hanging out with John and me this week. I do look forward to seeing y'all again next week as we continue this, and as we eagerly anticipate the return of the virtual pub, as on August the 12th, I do believe it is, we get some new lower decks, and you bet we're going to be starting the virtual pub up again after that. So until then, everyone, take care, and thanks for hanging out with us.
Good night.
Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please be sure to hit that like button and share it with your friends. If you haven't subscribed yet, I hope you will, and be sure to hit that bell icon to be notified of all the updates I do on this channel. If you want to support the work I'm doing here, then I hope you'll consider becoming one of my Patreons, where you'll get early access to all kinds of videos. And until the next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May he cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Amen.